Bonjour, la classe. Can I just say you have been Sorry. Let's just wait till the clock finishes. Okay, you have been absolutely amazing today. I'm filming this on the Monday and you were so terrific. It was your first day of homeschooling and you nailed it. Well done. I was so proud of you. Now, this is the next installment of your class novel. So if you remember, I doesn't have a name, but I heard a howl in the night and I just decided to go downstairs and investigate. So, the howl resonated around the small cottage again as I opened the door. I rushed back and placed the vase of flowers safely on the floor, just as the vibration was about to send it hurtling downwards. Creeping back to the small landing again, I trod on the first narrow step. The howl died down, but I could still hear it in my head. Taking one step at a time, I crept down the stairs. I didn't want to switch on the light, as I didn't think I'd like what I saw. I preferred to pretend it was all normal, but as I neared the bottom of the stairs, my racing heartbeat told me that nothing was normal about the situation. Shadows loomed out of nowhere, and I couldn't figure out what had made them. In my mind, I could see them moving towards me, but I shook my head and rubbed my eyes. "Mom?" I whispered. I had meant to say it properly, but my voice had stopped working. I cleared my throat and said it again. "Mum?" My voice sounded deafening, but I hadn't spoken loudly. Then came the most terrifying sound I'd ever heard. It began as a low growl. I could imagine Darwin lifting his lips to show his teeth. As though the growl wasn't enough, it rose higher and higher until it was mixed with a howl, an unearthly, ear-splitting howl that made me run back up the stairs and cover my head with the quilt. I didn't want to think about what had made Darwin make such unearthly sounds, if it actually was Darwin. I felt embarrassed that I'd run away, but I wasn't about to head downstairs again until the night had finished. As I lay there, in the warmth and the dark, I wondered if there was something about Mum that I should know. There was something up with Darwin, certainly, and I wondered if he was the product of some weird scientific experiment. Great Danes were supposed to be the biggest dog in the world, weren't they? But Mum had boasted about Darwin being a full 6-somethings taller, and he was certainly wider. Sleep didn't really come, and I spent the rest of the night turning over possibilities in my head, each one more and more ridiculous. By the time the morning came, I had just about managed to get to sleep. I was woken up by Mum, who shook me gently. At first I felt cross that I'd been woken up, and then puzzled because I couldn't remember where it was. "Wake up, sleepyhead," Mum smiled at me. "It's 8 o'clock. I groaned. "I only just got to sleep," I mumbled. Mum's forehead creased slightly, but she just sat down on the bed next to me. "Were you thinking about Dad?" she asked. I nodded, preferring to keep what I'd heard to myself for now. I should have been thinking of Dad, I realised with shame. "He'll be all right, sweetie," Mum smiled, and I felt like a fraud. "It's better for him that he isolates himself right now. We can see him again when this virus has passed." I didn't say anything. I didn't know Mum, and after last night I thought she was even stranger to me. But why had she said we? Was she planning on coming back to live with us? My mouth turned up slightly as I imagined Dad's face if Darwin came to stay. "Was Darwin okay last night?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Yes, he's fine," Mum nodded. "Is that what kept you awake?" "Oh, I'm sorry, darling. He likes to go outside at night time, but I'm not letting him out at the moment. He howls when he's cross about being cooped up inside. He can go out with me or you, but not on his own." not at night time. Why? I asked. There were no cars around, are there? No, it's not that, she replied. It's just not all that safe for him out there on his own, you know. Anyway, she continued, changing the subject skillfully. You haven't met the others yet, have you? I shook my head, wondering what others she meant. Were there more Darwins? How could Mum possibly keep them all in this tiny house? Well, get dressed and come down for breakfast, and then we can go outside and meet them. Mum sounded genuinely excited to share them with me, whatever they were, and I admit that some of the excitement rubbed off on me, even after not getting much sleep. Darwin snuzzled me as I went downstairs, and I nervously stepped round the side of him. He plodded after me into the kitchen, but last night had made me even more nervous of him, and I refused to make eye contact. I sat down at the table opposite Mum and poured some Rice Krispies into my bowl. Mum watched me. Darling, she said softly, I have some work to do today, but I'll be back by lunchtime. Is that okay? I'll introduce you to the others before I get off, and you can take Darwin for a walk if you like. I trailed off. I didn't want to be left on my own with Darwin. I glanced across at him, and he looked across with brown puppy eyes. My heart melted. You'll be fine, sweetheart, Mum said. Darwin will look after you. I didn't want to tell Mum that it was Darwin I was afraid of, but I didn't really want Mum to know I was afraid of anything, so I just shrugged it off. What are you doing at work today? I asked, hoping it would answer some of the mysteries that surrounded Mum. Oh, this and that, she smiled. I'm looking for a type of animal which has been spotted around here. It's very rare, and my job is to study it. What is it? I asked. I liked the thought that Mum was working with animals. Mum looked at me for a moment. Why don't you come with me one day? She suggested, but just not today. I nodded, still trying not to seem overly excited, but I liked the idea. So that was decided. Straight after breakfast, Mum gave me some muddy wellies and we went outside. Around the side of the cottage was a stone barn, and Mum walked up to the gigantic door, which took up half the wall. I raised my eyebrows in surprise as Mum took out a bunch of keys and proceeded to unlock the 7 padlocks which were guarding the door. I wondered what was in the barn, that it had to be shut away so securely, and I absent-mindedly took a step back. Mum glanced at me. It's okay, she said. It's not to keep him in, it's to keep him protected from people. I nodded, but didn't take a step closer. Darwin, who was now standing at my side, nudged me forwards so I was standing next to my mum. This is Taurus, she said, her cheeks burning with pride. I took another step back, but Mum heaved the door open, which I noticed was the width of 10 normal doors. Mum stood back to get her breath back, unable to speak for a moment, and I remained rooted to the spot. The barn was too dark to make anything out other than giant shadows. The door had raised a cloud of earthy dust, and I coughed. It smelt warm and musty, and I could smell fresh hay, but I still couldn't see anything. Then I heard a rustling, like something was moving about in the hay. There, I saw a shadow move. The shadow was very long, but not that tall, and I let out a sigh of relief when I realised that this was the animal that lived in the barn, and it was only as tall as my shoulders. Oh, I sighed with relief. I thought it was gigantic. Mum smiled, and I turned back to see if I could get a good look at the creature. I could still make out the shadow, but wait, hang on. Whatever it was moving and getting taller. As I heard hooves in the hay, I realised that the animal had been laying down and was now getting up to its feet. As I looked at the massive height of the shadowy animal, my mouth dropped open and I couldn't move with shock. Mum, I stammered as the creature began to walk slowly towards us, shuffling its hooves in the hay. As it came into the light from the doorway, I could get a better view. Oh my I trailed off, my voice shaking. Standing to its full height, this colossal creature was taller than the walls of the cottage. 4 thick legs supported a massive body and a head with shiny black short hair. 2 horns stretched out almost as wide as the barn door. The animal was entirely black, with sleek hair covering its entire body. Its large eyes looked peaceful, even though the sight of it was enough to send me stumbling backwards. "Mum," I whispered, "what is it?" The creature walked placidly out of the shed and lowered its head so it was the same height as me. "You can rest your hand on his head," Mum said. "He likes that." Mum took my hand and put it on the animal's head. The short hair was silky to touch, and I couldn't help smiling. The creature snorted, making drops of water shoot from its nostrils. The sound caused me to move backwards, and the animal lifted its head again so it towered above me. I couldn't remember ever seeing an animal as beautiful and as this, and as magnificent. "He's awesome," I smiled, wondering what other secrets my mum had. "What is he?" And that's the end of the chapter. So, next instalment tomorrow, which is Wednesday, I would like you, please, to have a think about what you think the creature might be. What do you think he is? And post the answer on Dojo or Google Classroom. And I look forward to hearing from you. Okay, have a good day, folks. See ya.